we have created a completely accurate Football Manager database, rosters and everything all the way down to Ben White's inclusion in the squad. We've simulated it 100 times, and we have taken all that data and put it into Excel and gotten every piece of information we could possibly want from those 100 simulations. We know exactly what is going to happen in the Euros, and the winner is going to be by the end of this video, you will know who is most likely to advance out of their group, who is least likely to advance out of their group, who are the best teams, the ones that are more likely to get to each round, depending on all the variety of matchups they could get out of the group stage. There's some teams that qualify all the time, but they don't get out of the round of 16 or the quarterfinals. We also, in 100 simulations, have a large collection of different teams that are apparently capable of winning the Euros. Football Manager has given us all of the goods, and all of these things will be in the back of your brain in about I have no idea how long this video is going to be, perfectly honest. We also have individual player stats like top scores and best average ratings, so you know who to look out for. Surprise, Goran Pandev. I'm just assuming the North Macedonian anthem sounds like that, right? Who's the best team in the knockouts? That was my fun question. We're looking for every number that I thought would be interesting from 100 simulations of the European Championships right before they start, with accurate rosters on the Football Manager 21 database. Huge shout out to Tyler. He's the Excel whiz who's able to do all those. He's part of the team and is able to do all this crazy stuff. And Reed, who was able to make the database in like 5 minutes because he's insane. First, for the group stages. And this is where nobody is surprised at all, because who is the worst team in the group stage in terms of qualifying? Everybody say it together. Hungary, people. It's obvious. Look at the last group. Okay, it's Hungary, Portugal, Germany, and France. Yeah, like half the third place teams, right, are going to qualify for the next round. It's actually 4, just so you know. And Hungary, in 100 simulations, only made it out of the group stage 5 times, which is, and you can't, I can't believe I'm saying this, like 18 less than any other team. Like the next closest team was Wales. That's all the way up in Group A. Wales qualified 23 out of 100 times from its group. They were shockingly bad, honestly. Nowhere near as shockingly bad as Hungary. Now, you expected them to be bad, but qualifying 5% of the time when like the majority of third place teams qualify is really surprising. Hungary won 0.16 games per simulation. 0.16. Wales was at 0.49. That's like you win a half game every simulation. Hungary was at 0.16. Hungary is in for a nightmare, a disaster class, a catastrophe. I mean, this is the Ottoman Empire all over again. If you don't know that story, the final battle between the Hungarians and the Ottoman Empire, the Hungarian king like rode into the battle, got knocked off his horse, fell face down in the mud. His armor was too heavy for him to be able to roll over, and like people were running on his back and stuff. So he actually ended up suffocating in the mud. And yet this was somehow more embarrassing for Hungary than that. But at least they made it. Like, seriously, gold star for you. They did get to the knockout stages last time, so they kind of used up all of their chutzpah. That's not even, I don't even think that works anyways. But who was the best group stage team? Belgium. Belgium qualified 98 out of 100 times. They only missed the knockouts twice. Life is good to be Belgium. But there's some interesting other takeaways here. Like the second best group stage team was Germany, out of the group of death, because Hungary was over here sucking so much that Germany's always at least in third. They qualified 96 out of 100. Portugal and France both qualified in 88 out of 100. Group E is just fascinating. It's like, this is telling us Group E is already predetermined. Like what's gonna happen? Like Group E, they're all getting through. But a little bone for the It's Coming Home crowd. England qualified in 95 out of 100 situations. Spain also got over 90. They got 91 qualifications out of their group. Highest scoring team and the best defensive team was Belgium. They scored 6.56 goals on average per group stage and allowed only 2.73. Worst defense was actually, I gotcha, it was Wales. Wales defense is actually terrible. They allowed on average 7.72 goals against throughout the 100 simulations, which is miles ahead of Hungary, who was at 6.65. Outside of like the traditional powers, teams that were able to keep their goals against under 4 were Switzerland, and Turkey was also able to keep their goals against under 4. Shout out to them. That's not the last time you'll be hearing from them. But it's time to unveil the positioning of the groups based on likelihood to advance, or based on average points. So really they're kind of all the same when we crunch the numbers. So in Group A, the team that's first is Italy. Italy topped at 5.28 points per tournament. Then we had Turkey at 4.83, ahead of Switzerland at 4.73. So Turkey is actually, through the simulations, likely just barely to be second ahead of third place Switzerland, and way off them as Wales at 1.96 points per simulation. Like, Wales' average group position was 3.53. They were halfway between 3 and 4. This also qualifies as the closest group in the entire thing, because the average group position of Switzerland, Turkey, and Italy was all within 0.34. And something that's strange is when Turkey does well, they do very well. They led this group in average group position at 2.01, which is actually like top 5 in the entire simulation. If you want to see the whole table, by the way, we have a Euros chat on the Discord. There will be pictures of all this stuff. If you're not, so if you can reference back to this, or maybe there's a piece of data that you saw in one of these flashes of video that Reese shows that you would really want to dissect more and see the whole column. Well, there'll be pictures of all of it in that Euros chat on the Discord. The next group is obviously Belgium, and then Denmark is coming in ahead of Russia. Denmark had 4.1 points per simulation. Russia was at 3.3, and Finland actually ended up at 2.14. This makes them the third worst group stage team, ahead of Wales and Hungary. Still somehow better than I felt like they would do. But I always feel like the happy to be there teams are dangerous. And if I've learned anything in the past 24 hours, it's that according to HITC Sport, Finland's going to win the whole thing, as long as I'm backing them.
Fourth, Finland. I can already smell football hipsters across the planet tipping Finland to do well, trying to be the first ones in line to predict them for an Iceland-esque miracle at their first ever European Championship.
So that's my pick. Group C is where things get crazy. I want just understand what's happening here for a second. Austria's first. Like, Austria is first. 5.01 points per simulation. That is ahead of the Netherlands at 4.96. The Netherlands is second. Ukraine is third at 3.63, and North Macedonia with an incredibly respectable 2.77, which is also ahead of all the other teams we've mentioned, and Czechia and Slovakia. So all of Czechoslovakia in the mud. North Macedonia seems perfectly respectable. And Austria, dark horse. To Group D, we have England coming in first with a 5.64. Croatia is second. Scotland finished third, 3.16, and Czechia at a 2.61. Scotland's average group position was like inside 3. It was 2.86. So Scotland looks capable. More on that later. Our Group D favorite is Spain. You probably could have guessed that. And then you have Sweden, came in at 4.38, Poland at 3.87, and Slovakia, who was terrible in these simulations, is down in the bin at 2.59. And then to the other group that was really close to see who wins it. Germany had an average group position of 1.83. They look fantastic. They were the second best group stage team behind Belgium, and as such, they are the predicted group winner. Then we have Portugal's predicted to finish second at 5.21 points per, and then France, they were at 4.97 points. They're all very high numbers for those three teams, beating the bejesus out of Hungary and then maybe beating one of the other two teams. Fabulously interesting tidbit: Turkey had the third best average goal difference in the entire tournament. Turkey, the sandwich. We're headed to the stats in a second, but if you want to predict against me, I was looking for a way for us to do a prediction league, right? And if you win, you get prizes, right? You get shirts and signed things and cool stuff. Well, I've teamed up with this app called Kiss My Score. It's not actually technically a sponsorship. They're just an app that works for this. So the link is down in the description. If you click on that, you can join the prediction league, compete against everybody else that clicks on that link to join the prediction league. I'll be talking about it on stream too. That link is also down there. And if you jump in there and you can predict the different games, and if you win, you will obviously be shouted out in videos and receive cool stuff. You will also get that if you finish last while picking every game. So good luck. I'll see you on that app thing. It's cool. It works. Now to players' stats. We track goals and average rating over all 100 simulations, and there were very familiar faces throughout the course of all of these. Most goals we had in any of the 100 simulations was Cristiano Ronaldo. He scored 9. in one of the simulations, which ties the Euros record. Doesn't actually break it, though. Lame. And the top rating out of anybody in any Euro. It's not the Ronaldo that scored 9 goals. It is Harry Kane, baby. 9.05 average rating for a tournament. People that were the top 3 of people that were most frequently in as the top scorer. Ronaldo was 31 times, Lukaku was 24, and Lewandowski was 16. We also had a very clear winner in best rating, like overall throughout the course of the thing. Kevin De Bruyne won best rating, kind of best player 28 times. Thomas Muller was second. He did it 21 times. Kane was third, 12 times. The fact that Thomas Muller is still good while being a meme is impressive. That brings us to the knockout stage. Who is the best team, the most likely to win? We're gonna get to that, but first, to the teams that had the best chance of winning a round of 16 match. In the bin already is Hungary, because the 5 times they made it to the round of 16, they lost. So Hungary is the only team in the table that never got to the quarterfinals in the simulation. Yeah, the only other teams in single digits were Finland, who only made it 3 times despite qualifying 28 times for the round of 16. They lost 25 of those. Then we had Wales, who made it 5 times to the quarterfinals, just 5. Very unlikely to repeat, it would seem. Third was Germany. 66% of all simulations, Germany got to at least the quarterfinal. Second was England, 68% of the time. And first was Portugal. 73% of all simulations had Portugal getting to at least the semifinal. Might be wondering what happened to Belgium, who qualified 98 times. Well, they were only 60% good to make it out of the round of 16. On the statistical anomaly side, despite the brilliance of Turkey in the group stage, they were only 23% likely to progress if they qualified, which means Turkey is only 19% probable to make it to the quarterfinals, despite qualifying 83% of the time. On the inverse of that, we covered the fact that Czechia just didn't make it all that often, and they only made the quarterfinals 19% of the time. But if they made the round of 16, they were better than a coin flip to get to the quarterfinals. 51% of the time, Czechia got to the quarters if it got out of the group. And Scotland was kind of in the same boat. They only made the quarterfinals 20% of the time. But if they were in the round of 16, Andy Robertson's boys actually made it half the time to the quarterfinals. So good knockout teams. Poland and Sweden also checked in at over 50% likely to win a round of 16 match, which both could qualify as surprising. This brings us to the quarterfinals, where we start to see the trends developing. The top 3 teams that are most likely to get to the quarterfinals were Belgium at 39% of all simulations. They would get to the semifinals. Germany was second at 44%, and Portugal, with a ridiculous 49% of the time, got to the semifinals. Sweden with an incredibly respectable 20%. Croatia rocking a solid 28%. Poland at 15% getting to the semifinals, which is really good for them. And a 5% from North Macedonia. They made the semis 5 times. Slovakia is the second team outside of Hungary that zeroes out. They never made it to the semifinals ever. And then there's a couple more teams that did not make it to the finals. Wales finally zeroes out here after 2 trips to the semis. Finland, after 1 trip to the semifinals, does zero out, but that's still respectable. Very disappointing for Ukraine. They never made a final. And Scotland never made a final. They were determined and solid in the knockouts, but they made, 8 semifinals, but couldn't make a final. Very bad. If you get to the semis, Scotland, the dream is dead. It's okay. The top teams here were, not weirdly, Portugal, who made the final 23% of the time, but then Spain, who hasn't been on this all time. Like, they made the finals 25% of the time. And this is mainly because Spain had a ridiculous 71.4% win percentage in semifinal games. Alvaro Morata's clutch. Who knew? Germany made the final 29% of the time. So in 29 out of 100 simulations, Germany was in the final. And that brings us to, you got it, the Cinderellas. Who are the surprising teams with an actual chance to win the European Championships? Well, unfortunately, it's not Russia. They made the final once, they didn't win it. It's not Denmark. They made the final 3 times, but they didn't win it. Absolutely tragically, it's not North Macedonia, who did make the final once, losing to Croatia in what is statistically the least likely final that we had the entire time we were simulating this. Those are the teams that were eliminated and did not get it. The teams that did win the Euros at least 1% of the time: Switzerland, Turkey, group leaders Austria bagged one. And despite a ridiculously poor group showing, Czechia won its only final and appears to be one of the greatest knockout stage teams ever assembled. Poland and Sweden also managed to win a Euro in 1 out of the 100 simulations. So those are the people that are capable of winning, of being that team that captivates the masses. A paltry, incredibly disappointing performance from the Netherlands, who checked in at just 2 out of 100. I will say the best underdog bet would probably be Turkey. They actually managed to make the final 4 times, which just feels like raucously high. Poland made it 8 times to the final and was consistently brilliant in the knockout stages. Sweden also produced 5 finals appearances, only winning 1 of them obviously, but still. Croatia managed 5 wins out of 100, which is just behind Italy, who managed 6% of the wins. That would be obviously 6 trophies for them, which brings us to our list of contenders that we will provide in order. These are the 6 teams that just look really likely to win the Euro. They all won it at least 10% of the time. This is the list you've probably been waiting for the whole video. Who's most likely to win it? Checking in at number 6, England. They're 6th. They won 10% of the time, and they finish just behind Belgium because Belgium made more finals appearances than England by 1. They had the same number of trophies, though, and Belgium is number 5. Definitely said that on accident. That brings us to our top 4 that separated themselves a little bit more from everybody else. And in 4th, the team that I thought was the favorite going in, France, finished 4th with 13 trophies on 22 finals appearances. 3rd, Spain, 14 trophies on 25 finals appearances. Means a quarter of the time Spain was in the final and did manage to win 14 of them. 2nd, Portugal, who put together a ridiculous 74% win percentage in its 23 finals to win 17 trophies, which is the same number as the top team, which made the final 29 times, which is Germany. Almost, I mean, not almost, but like kind of halfway to almost, like, you know, freaking 29% of the time. Almost 30% of the time, almost a third of the time, right? Germany is in the final of the Euros. They're like all of a sudden the big favorite in my mind. Football Manager loves them ahead of everybody else. That is a significant 4 more than any other team in terms of making the final. Germany, the way these teams are put together, is the team to beat. And that's who Football Manager thinks is going to win the Euros. Remember, we use completely accurate squads and groups. All the rules were accurate. So this is just being able to play out real life 100 times based off the opinions of players at the beginning of the season in Football Manager. Again, if you want to see the list, they're going to be in the Euros chat on the Discord. And if you want to join the predictions league that I will be hosting, the Kiss My Score link is down in the description. I'll see you there. I'll see you on stream. Germany, you heard it here first. They're the most likely team to win. Hi guys, it is the middle of the night and I've assembled a crack team of some of the sexiest people alive to help get this video out on time. And as you probably imagined while you were watching this, raw data entry from a 100 different Football Manager saves takes a lot of work. And we've been up doing that work. This is your behind the scenes tour of how this actually works. We were entering it on this fancy spreadsheet. You've probably seen a little bit in the video. This is the one Ninja worked on. It's just a ton of data entry. These dudes are awesome. Ayal.
Hi.
Big man.
Hi.
Then we have Camper, who's actually not even in the mod team. Camper is a hammer, and it is really is super into triangles. Would you care to elaborate?
Yeah. I live where you vacation, otherwise known as Bermuda, and we have one of the highest churches per capita in the world.
Really?
Yeah.
Is that like 2 churches and 4 people, or?
Okay, bro, come on.
Parfait is on literally the other side of the world. We're all in the middle of the night and he's like, you know, doing his morning yoga on the beaches of Jakarta. Hey,
Good morning.
next we have Joe, who remains mildly mysterious because most of the time we've been doing this, Joe has been muted and like absolutely dialed in.
I'm sorry, the numbers are crunching right now. I can't hear you. Hello.
The numbers are crunching. And then we have Kane, who I had a very romantic get together with on the Canadian border not too long ago.
It was honestly too hot for YouTube. I don't think we can go into that.
Ninja Panda is here, who actually I think holds the title for having done the most, at least as of right now.
I try.
Do you have any secrets to share about your data aggregation skills?
I use Excel a lot at work, and so, it becomes useful.
Nerd.
Welcome to engineering.
Dude, from the top rope in Bermuda.
Welcome to being an engineer in 2021. It's staring at Excel all day.
And then there's season 1 Champions League champion Ryan Jones, who will be introduced like that for the rest of his life.
Obviously, it's really weird when people don't want you say it, but I take it nonetheless.
Anyways, this is the Motley Crew. They are at the end of this video for a reason it simply would not be possible without all of the people here. So from Indonesia to Bermuda to a bunch of Americans to one Canadian, because there's just always one Canadian there. Everybody sheesh goodbye. Sheesh!